Hey yo, it's Guido coming at you with a Tactics Talk. I appreciate y'all's support. I said y'all's. Here we are, we've got Thylacoleo once again in his Jagdpanzer E100 loaded into Ruinberg Tier 10 German TD. The Jagzilla, the Yogzilla, Godzilla, whatever you want to call it. So he sent me in this replay and he asked, hey man, what could I have done better here? So let's take a look at it and I'll try to give him some pointers on what he could have done better here. And essentially it's going to revolve around one very basic concept. Rock climbing. No. That rock didn't stand a chance. We are trucking over from our spawn and headed towards the cap in our TD, and I think this is probably initially not a bad idea. Off we go. Pretty standard. A lot of the heavy stuff on this map, it is an encounter by the way, a lot of the heavy stuff will get down here into the southwest, fight around these corners, get up by the church, shoot down this lane, try to keep them from turning the corner while they try to keep you from turning the corner, and there's usually a skirmish down the middle road, and then of course there's the cats and dogs, that battle for the upper village up there. And that is kind of how this goes, whether it's encounter or standard. Fight's very much the same. Now this is very interesting because I've not seen this before. You'll also note there's no arty, so something's going to happen here that doesn't usually happen. You've got a Sturv that is driven all the way up here and is sitting on this road, going into siege mode with that little flat pancake tank and just barely peeking up over that road, and he starts letting people have it. And you will note something else interesting happens. First of all, Thigh, you need to be looking what's going on over there. I would be driving, but I'd be in third-person mode and looking at what's happening. And I might see that, oh, that's interesting. What is that guy doing? I might even be able to swing my tank right here and punch him right in the face. Okay, so take that shot of opportunity. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Let's see what we're doing, because there's something else that happens here. The Emil 2 comes up. And look at that. They start pounding on the FV. All these guys are going right down the road. Not a single turret is turned towards the threat. Looks like maybe the Emil 2 is starting to look that way. There's the KV4 finally started looking that way. But every turret that has a turret should have been looking that way. Those guys are poking up and over. You got the Indian looking over, the JPZ, the T62. They have sent quite a few tanks here, and they actually punish Thai's team pretty hard. Now Thai notices it and heads over here. He cuts away, try to get further away so that he's not lit. And I think that's probably wise. But look at that KV4 and FE just getting their rears handed. Now I don't know if the KV got tracked or if he stopped the fire. If he got tracked, he needed to fix it and get going. If he stopped the fire, that was a terrible idea. But of course, we're talking about Thai. Now, for the moment, Thai is headed towards the cap. And I think that's probably his best bet. So you had two options here, Thai. Number one is kind of turn right here, right now, and see if you can't punish those guys once or twice. Maybe dissuade them from poking up and over that, plus using your armor right there. Or keep on trucking to your initial position that you've chosen. The Oho gets hammered. Another rock gets thumped. Okay, yep, so we're still going, we're still going. We're still, wait a minute, what's going on here? Thigh, what are you doing? What? Okay, so now we're headed back. And this goes to what I was talking about earlier that we'd get to. So the question at the beginning of a game is, what is your initial positioning decision? If something comes up that changes that, then that's fine. Go ahead and make that decision and commit to that change. In this case, maybe turning towards them and trying to punch a couple of those guys in the face, because look at your FE's nearly dead. If they'd have seen the JPZ turning and aiming at them, you may have pushed a few back just by influence. Okay, just by influence, and you may have actually hit one of them as well and got some damage. But you drove for a long time, haven't fired your gun, didn't influence them, and all of a sudden now we're headed back. So if you have a positioning decision, either stick with it and get somewhere where you can do some good, or react to the actual unfolding situation, but get your gun shooting. So now the T62 is there. Show him what he's doing. I might have fired that. I didn't quite get back to your view fast enough for the viewers at home to see, but I think you might have had that shot right there. Just fire away. And this is actually kind of interesting. So you're messing around with the T62 here. And you may have been thinking, you know, I need to try to help shore up this side, and that's not a bad thought. But I don't particularly care for this road as a place to be. And this is funny. This T62 shoots at you. He knows you're there. Now he turns his turret to shoot at someone else, and he eats 1162. So that wasn't bad. That's going to help him out a little bit. And now the question becomes, and it's the question you started off with, what exactly is your plan? Now I understand you have asked me to look at this and say, hey, what was wrong with my plan? But I would ask you, if you were here face to face, what exactly was your plan? Are you trying to just hold this corner and maybe look up into the town and maybe look down the road right here? That's not bad, but it is very reactive. Get really unlucky here by not penning that bloody 100.01. Ended up getting lit there. I'm not sure if you got lit when you fired or if you moved forward. I'm not really sure what happened there. I do like your tactical sense as far as moving around a little bit and trying to spoil shots. I'd have taken that shot. I think you'd have punched through his turret. Especially if you hit that flat place. The flat side cheek there. Okay, so this is actually in two parts because he DC'd right here. So stand by and we'll continue. And we're back. Looks like a few things went on there. Maybe a tank or two were killed by the rest of his guys that are sitting against the wall right there. But he didn't lose any hit points while he DC'd, so he got back in time to do that. Thank goodness. Takes a hit now from the 110E3. And now we're staring down the 110E3. Alright, so, like I said, what's your plan? Right? You're kind of just out here in the middle of this field. And you're exposed. It looks like they're pushing through. That guy snuck through. You got a shot on your side. Those guys can shoot you straight down the road at your lower plate, which is relatively weak. All right, so this is just really not a good positioning idea. So at some point, you needed to either commit towards these guys and help these guys clean them up, or turn back around and commit into some of these buildings and try to deal with these guys right here. But I've had a couple of videos with other guys recently. Kind of the same thing happens at the intermediate level. Your tactical technique of how you maneuver your tank is good. A lot of times the initial, at least, decision to move is good, but once the crap hits the fan and things start to happen, the indecision and the inability to pick a side or pick a plan starts to come in. Sometimes you just have to be reactive. That's all you've been left with, and I do understand that, but I think you probably had a lot of opportunities here to get your tank somewhere where it just wasn't so exposed, because now you're getting the crossfire from behind and the guys coming around this corner. So think about it for just a minute, all right? Go back to the point where you turned around, came in, you shot the T-62, and you noticed they had a whole crowd of guys and they'd actually come around the corner. This was still kind of going on. It wasn't looking great. It was still kind of going on, but this was going to take a while to develop. Your main power was over here and you were back here. So where should you have gone? I think you should have just trundled right down this road. Just go down this road and help these guys push in. You got a lot of hit points, you got a lot of armor, you got a big gun. You might have been able to drag these guys around with you, get in, get around the 103, and take out these guys that are here. And then this probably would have still lost without you. You didn't do much anyway over here, so they lost without you more or less. And then you could have turned around and come back and helped the Mals. But as it was, we're just sort of reacting back and forth. Ouch. 12-13 with the fire. Another hit. That stir's going to tear you up, man. And this sucks because now you've got to go backwards to where there are other guys coming around the corner. Some more hits. Now we're backing up. Backing up, backing up. The Mals. And unbelievably, this 55% Mals gets absolutely wrecked. I don't know if he's... No, he is moving. I thought it was AFK, maybe. He's behind the building, so you're not going to be able to get any shots on him. Oh, T-54, get him! And now we're backing up again. So see what I'm talking about? Had you pushed down with these guys, probably would have killed these guys out. And then you all could have come back or set up a defensive position right here to take on these dudes as they try to come up these roads, which are very exposed. It's hard to hide in these things coming up this way, but as it is now, your forces are pretty split. And you, although you both are big and heavy and armored, you're going to have a hard time against these more agile type tanks right here when you're being outflanked, and the Mouse is about to learn that. Mouse is just getting hammered. And I'm just going to stop it here because there's not much to see. The team ends up losing. Thy gets about 4,000 damage, blocks quite a bit of damage, and as far as the technical fighting of where he was with the tank, positioning of the tank itself, where he was, that was all fine, more or less. It just would have been good for you to pick a place to be, and I really think if you'd have just trucked into town, that was the place to be with this tank. Clean that out, and then you could have come back here and messed around with this. I think you did have an opportunity to take a shot early on just to sort of dissuade them from poking over and maybe collect some damage. And once you did that, just head on out and keep on going where you're going. That's another thing you have to consider with a very slow tank like this. If you let yourself get stopped in a situation like that on a fast flowing game, you really don't have any good options anymore. So you really got to get where you think you need to be initially, and I think it was right to head over here initially with maybe one shot up here. All right, man, I hope this helped. Hope they help somebody anyway. And if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we will see you.